Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. Alhamdulillahi wahdahu wassalatu wassalamu ala man la nabiyya ba'dah. Alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us this day of Jummah, this beautiful day. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about this day, بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة. When on the day of Jummah, when the call to prayer is called, in other words, the adhan. When the adhan of Jummah is called, فَاسْعَوْا إِلَى ذِكْرِ اللَّهِ. One must rush towards the dhikr of Allah, the remembrance of Allah. وَذَرُوا الْبَيْعَ. And leave bay', which is our transactions, our buying, selling, all our ways of making money. We have to leave these things. That, just a normal person asked my sheikh in Sydney, he asked him, can I miss Jummah because of work? Can I miss Jummah because of, lunch break, work, all these issues? He said literally in the Holy Quran, Allah is commanding us, وَذَرُوا الْبَيْعَ, leave your worldly matters, your dealings. After the adhan of Jummah is called, you are not allowed to transact anymore. You're not allowed to buy and sell. You have to, the only thing you're allowed to do after the adhan of Jummah is go towards the dhikr of Allah. That's the only thing that's permissible. And anything that helps towards that, you can do. Anything that doesn't help, you can't do. For example, let's say I'm driving to Jummah and, my car's low on petrol. I am allowed to, in that case, go to the petrol station and fill up petrol, which is a bay', which is a transaction, but this transaction is helping me to get to Jummah, right? It's not distracting me from Jummah, it's helping me to get to Jummah. Otherwise, I have no petrol in my car. But obviously, we should fill up petrol before, in the morning or whenever, not at Jummah time. So we should be prudent. We should always consider today's Yawmul Jummah, I want to fill up petrol before. But if it happens, we forget, very occasionally it might happen. In that particular scenario, you can do transactions at the time of Jummah. Why? Because you need to purchase the petrol to get to Jummah. But otherwise, all types of transactions are considered forbidden at the hour of Jummah. No transactions are allowed. Why? Because the only thing that you're allowed to do is rush towards the dhikr of Allah. And this is what we're doing here, mashallah. We have all come early to the Salatul Jummah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us this day, and He mentions this day in the Holy Quran. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has also given us the Holy Quran as وَنَزَلْنَا عَلَيْكَ الْكِتَابَ تِبْيَانًا لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed unto us this Quran, this kitab. It is a tibyanan likulli shay. It is an explanation of all things. Single thing we need in life is explained in this Holy Quran. Wa huda, and it's also a guidance for mankind. Wa rahmatan lil mu'minin, and it's also a rahmah, a mercy for the believers. This Quran contains every single thing that any person could need in their life. All the advices, all the instructions are contained inside the Quran. The Quran is our manual for how we live our life. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us. The same way a person manufactures an electronic appliance like a vacuum cleaner or a fridge. It comes with a manual. The person who manufactured this item knows how it works, and they give a list of instructions of how you should use the fridge, how you should use the microwave. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us. How a person should live their life, how they should behave, how they should deal with others in this dunya. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us this manual, this way of how we should live our life, and this is in the Holy Quran. This is a guidance for every single person who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opens their heart. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opens a person's heart towards guidance, then the Quran will be a source of that person's guidance, and it will be a mercy for the believers. Straight after this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the most comprehensive verse in the Holy Quran. According to Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, this is the most comprehensive verse. In fact, this particular verse I recited in every khutbah, every single khatib, Every single person who gives khutbah recites this verse, and Imams have been reciting this verse for 1,300 years. This was commissioned by Khalifa Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. He is the one who commissioned this. He saw that in his time, the Imams, in the end of their khutbah, they were actually cursing Ahlul Bayt. Why? Because of the rivalry between the Umayyads and the so on and so forth, the Ahlul Bayt, the Rashidun Khalifate. Because of this rivalry, the Khatibs were actually cursing Ahlul Bayt, the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, the family of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in their sermon. Umar ibn Abdul Aziz rahmatullahi alayhi said, no, do not curse anyone in your khutbah. Replace this cursing with the following ayah, this comprehensive ayah. What is this comprehensive ayah that I read at the end of every khutbah? Inna Allah ya'muru bil adli wal ihsan wa ita'i dhil qurba wa yanha 'anil fahsha'i wal munkari wal baghi ya'idhukum la'allakum tadhakkarun. This verse is so comprehensive because it shows you how you should live your life as a Muslim, how you should deal with others. That in this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands 3 things and forbids 3 things. The first thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands is adl, justice. That you should be just with every single person that you deal with. You promise someone you're going to pay them, you pay them back. You know, like someone fixes your car, you make sure you pay them on time. And then the person fixing the car should be just with his customer and do the correct job and not take any shortcuts. That, you know, and even in this particular country, unfortunately, there's people who have the desi mindset. You know, in our countries, unfortunately, everyone cheats everyone. It's just the way things are. And there's unfortunately people who come to this country, they still have that same mindset. And I know because everyone knows my father's a businessman. So many times he books a ticket for someone, and this person is Muslim from a certain country. I think we can all guess what that country is, and that person doesn't pay, and he just thinks this is we're back in you know, our own country, that you can just get away with these things. But you know, Allah is always watching. Even if there's no law, there's no order in this dunya, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is ordering towards adl. We should be just with each other. And Allah doesn't just say i'dilu, doesn't just say be just. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala emphasizes, Allah is the one, inna Allah, indeed Allah is the one who's ordering you to be just. Emphasizing that you must be just with other people in this dunya. Whatever is due upon you, you give that, you know, you give that which is due upon you to others. But then a Muslim, he should go a step further. He should go a step further, not just do adl, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala orders us to do ihsan. Ihsan means going above and beyond justice. Not just being just, but giving people more than what they're due. Whatever is my right, I give up my right for the sake of my Muslim brother. I give up my right for the sake of my Muslim brother and give him more and keep less for myself. That this is the meaning of ihsan. And we should do ihsan to all our Muslim brothers and sisters. We have to provide for our family. We should go above and beyond. Give our family more than what they need, obviously without spoiling them, but giving them more than what they need because they are our responsibility. I'm not just going to be just. I could just be just and give them the bare minimum. No, I'm going to give them above and beyond what is due upon them and give them extra. Do ihsan on them. And there's many categories of ihsan. One category of ihsan is ihsan with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That when we worship Allah, we don't just do the bare minimum. We don't just come to the masjid, go up and down a few times, quickly pray our prayer, and then leave. No, we do ihsan. Ihsan is that you worship Allah as if you can see Him, because even though you cannot see Allah, Allah can see you. This is ihsan. That not doing the bare minimum, just praying for the sake of praying, but really having that connection with Allah, as if you're in front of Allah when you pray. This is ihsan. And furthermore, after ihsan, what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala command us to do? Inna Allah ya'muru bil adli wal ihsan wa ita'i dhil qurba. And then in particular, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala emphasizes our relatives, that we need to be good to our relatives. Give them, more than what is due upon them. Go above and beyond for our own kith and kin, for our own blood. That Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, during the time where Aisha radiallahu anha was accused of, what she was accused of, one of his own cousins actually slandered her. One of the cousins of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu slandered Aisha radiallahu anha. Now you can imagine, many of you are fathers, how angry would you be if your own cousin, your own relative, and this relative is a poor relative who Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu used to help. He used to help this poor relative. His name, I believe, was Mistah. So he used to help this poor relative. And this same relative, you can say not really stabbed him in the back, but he accused Aisha radiallahu anha of what she was accused of. So Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu got so angry that he made an oath, by Allah, I will never ever help this person ever again. I will never ever help my relative. But then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed a verse, وَلَا يَأْتَلِ أُولُو الْفَضْلِ مِنْكُمْ وَالسَّعَةِ أَن يُؤْتُوا أُولِي الْقُرْبَى. That let the people amongst you who are rich, who have money, who have excess above and beyond what they need. Because that's the definition of being rich in Islam. That you have your basic needs, and above that you have some extra money. So let these types of people not make an oath by Allah, not use Allah's name as a means of them for them to stop giving to their relatives. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgave Mistah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgave him. He was punished for his accusation. He was punished under the Sharia law for the false accusation against Aisha radiallahu anha. But Mistah was forgiven. The cousin of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu was forgiven. So Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu was told that وَلْيَعْفُوا وَلْيَسْفَحُوا, forgive, overlook. Yes, he did something bad, overlook his faults, overlook what he did, and forgive him, and keep giving to him. أَلَا تُحِبُّونَ أَن يَغْفِرَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ. Do you not love that Allah should forgive you? That if you love that Allah should forgive you, then you forgive others. مَنْ لَا يَرْحَمْ لَا يُرْحَمْ. I've said this hadith many times. The one who doesn't show mercy to the one who doesn't show mercy to others will not be shown mercy by Allah. That to gain the mercy of Allah, you have to also be merciful towards others. And so Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu was commanded to keep giving to this relative because Allah forgave him, and Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu was also asked to forgive him. So these three things Allah commands us. Be just, go above and beyond and do ihsan on people, and pay special attention to our relatives. Be good to our relatives. وَيَنْهَا عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنْكَرِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forbids us from doing fahsha, which is any evil act that is in secret, any evil act that you don't publicize, any vulgar act that even you can see that this act is vulgar, that even you can comprehend that this act is wrong, that Allah has given us some sort of reasoning in our brains that we should have some basic knowledge of what's right and wrong. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forbids us from fahsha wal munkar. Munkar is an act that is wrong that someone does in public. Why? Because munkar comes from inkar. Inkar is when someone tells you that this act is wrong, don't do this act. Inkar is when someone tells you this act is wrong and you should not be doing this act. Why? Because you're doing this act in public. You're doing this act in public and people would tell you off for that. People will say, no, don't do this act. This is not the akhlaq, not the character of a Muslim. But unfortunately, close to Yawmul Qiyamah, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that even these types of acts that are vulgar, that people would automatically tell someone off for doing these acts will become the type of acts that the person who's doing inkar, the person who's forbidding these acts, people are laughing at him. People are saying that he's wrong. That this is what's going to happen close to Yawmul Qiyamah. The person who speaks out against these acts, he is the one who is considered wrong in society. Like there's certain acts that became so common in this day and age that even if you say this is wrong, it's actually against the law even to say that these acts are wrong. That the person saying these things are wrong is considered the criminal here. So we should avoid such acts in public and in private, wal baghi. And the final thing we should stay away from is taking the rights of our fellow Muslims. So this also goes back to Inna Allah ya'muru bil adl, that Allah orders us to do justice. We should never ever take the rights of other Muslims. So these are the three things we should not do. Do vulgar acts, evil acts in public, evil acts in secret, and we should not take the rights of our Muslim brothers. And this is the comprehensive ayah that should be a manual for how we live our lives and how we treat other Muslims and treat other human beings, inshallah. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Just move it up a little bit, because I'm going to stand. I'll show you. Go.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
الحمد لله الذي خلقنا من ضعف ثم جعل من بعد ضعف قوة ثم جعل من بعد قوة ضعفا وشيبة يخلق الله ما يشاء وهو العليم القدير ويوم تقوم الساعة يقسم المجرمون ما لبثوا غير ساعة كذلك كانوا يؤفكون ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له في الخلق والأمر ونشهد أن سيدنا وسندنا وحبيبنا وشفيعنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله الذي أنزل عليه الكتاب ولم يجعل له عوجا وصلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه الكرام خصوصا على خلفاء الراشدين المهديين هم الذي قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم عنهم عليكم بسنتي وسنة خلفاء الراشدين أما بعد فيا معشر المسلمين اعبدوا ربكم الذي خلقكم والذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون ويا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا ويا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون واعتصموا بحبل الله جميعا ولا تفرقوا فقد قال الله تعالى في القرآن العظيم بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم لقد جاءكم رسول من أنفسكم عزيز عليه ما عنتم حريص عليكم بالمؤمنين رؤوف رحيم فإن تولوا فقل حسبي الله